What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Cjthecheesedj here, and we are back. And today, guys, we're doing something a little bit different. Today, for those of you that play on my server, we're going through a little bit of a how to get started, as well as a few tips and tricks for PvP. Now, if you guys have been playing on my server, I've noticed that some of your bases are a little bit lackluster. Now, some of you guys on the server have stone bases, and the server has been out for quite a bit of time. Now, with everything going on the server, with people raiding and there being so many hostilities towards each other, it's a good idea to invest into metal bases. Now, you're probably wondering why. Well, the main reason being because of the difference in damage. Now, with a single piece of C4, you can actually blow through a stone wall, a stone foundation, and everything else around it. You can see there, that was a single C4 that blew into a stone base. Literally nothing will survive in here. We had a Fabby in here, we had refining forges as well as smithies, and just like that, it was gone. And especially with the new extinction map, going about getting the resources to make C4 make it really easy to get into stone bases, as well as that corruption dinos are able to get into it a lot easier. With a metal base, however, they are sort of more refined. Obviously, they take less damage from C4 as well as corruption dinos. So you can see here we've just chucked a single piece of C4 onto the metal base, detonate it, and you can see there that it actually didn't break through anything. It takes about 3 C4 to break through any sort of metal structure, unless of course your C4 is bugged and it just doesn't blow up in general. So guys, it's definitely worth investing in a metal base over a stone base. It'll take you a solid half an hour on like 3 times setting server settings to actually build a metal base up from grinding the metal. Especially if you've got an Anki, it'll take even less time. So guys, it's definitely worth investing into a metal base over an actual stone base. And the levels of difference between stone structures and metal structures isn't actually that high. You can reach those levels in about an hour and a half. So you can see here that the stone structures are learnt at like level 24, and you know, that's real early game, so you don't really want to hang around that spot too long, whereas metal, you can learn it at 45. It's not too difficult to get to level 45 in a matter of time. By the time you finish grinding up all the metal in order to craft your base, you'll easily be 45. Now, these are just example bases here in front of you to show you what kind of damage the C4 does. We'll be getting into base designs a little bit later down the video, but you don't actually even need to build things this big. You can easily build a 2x1 or a 1x1 metal structure, and it'll still last you twice as long as a stone structure. So guys, definitely invest in metal structures over your stone structures to begin with. Alrighty guys, so next up in the video, we're going to go over how to place your turrets, or just going about placing turrets. Now, when you eventually get your metal base and you get enough resources to actually make your first couple of turrets, you want to invest extra metal into hatch frames. Now, the reason you want to use hatch frames and not catwalks, which are significantly cheaper, is because hatch frames are able to shoot directly down. Catwalks actually protect the enemy player that's raiding you. For example, if this was a catwalk just here, the enemy player could easily stand under this and turrets would not shoot at him. The beginning of Ark, before hatch frames actually came out, everyone used catwalks and everyone got raided all the time. Nowadays, with the hatch frames, it's a lot harder to actually get into a base, and it's a little bit less convenient for the enemy player that's trying to raid you to actually get into the base, because if you were, for example, to stand right here, the turrets would still be able to spin around and shoot at you. If they were on catwalks, they wouldn't have this ability. So make sure that when you do get up to the turret stage of the game, you invest in the giant metal hatch frames, because they're definitely worth it. Stone hatch frames, I wouldn't recommend getting into because they can easily break with a rocket or a C4, whereas the metal hatch frames actually can survive quite a bit of damage, so it's definitely worth investing in the metal ones. You can see there, single piece of C4 did about 3,000 damage, a rocket deals about 3,000 damage to these, but you've got to take into consideration that the turrets would also shoot down the rockets and the C4 if they were on. So you can see that this configuration with the turrets has pretty much got them set up on each corner. You could then go about putting extra turrets on the center of each platform. So for example here, here and here, as well as to provide extra base defense. Now, if you don't want to invest in just auto turrets and you actually want to use plant turrets as well, you can easily fit these alongside the auto turrets as well, which will deter players from coming to raid your base. As well as that, it also slows down and blinds any enemy players or dinos trying to raid you. Now guys, for the internals of the base with turrets, you kind of want to make sure it doesn't really matter too much about your cabling being exposed. You can see here that we've got cabled exposed, because the moment that they're going to get inside of your base, you might as well kiss goodbye to your cabling, because once they're in, that's it. Unless you've got internals, they're going to get through to your base. But the next best thing that you want to try and do is layer your generator. You want to try and make it hidden, because if you don't make it hidden, they're going to be able to blow it up externally and they can easily get through and destroy all your turrets and stop them from working. For example, if we had our generator set up in this corner here, all we would need to do is simply run up to it, chuck some C4 down, quickly run away before the turrets killed us with a decent set of flak, blow in, and we would actually destroy the generator. Of course, we would probably chuck 3 C4 instead of 1, but the moment you actually break through a wall is the moment that the generator will explode. If you've got the generator backed behind another wall and door, there's less chance of them being able to completely turn it off and still suffer damage and losses from the turrets, especially when trying to escape. So guys, this is how you definitely want to set up your hatch frames as well as your generator to the best of your ability. Obviously you can expand out a little bit more, so instead of having 1 foundation in between the generator room, you could have 2 foundations. As well as that, you could set the generator on the floor instead of a foundation. I personally wouldn't recommend doing that because it's not as protected as it would be on a foundation with the door frames and the walls around it. Alrighty guys, so that pretty much concludes how to set up your internals with the generator and to use the hatch frames. Next up, we're going to go over turret towers. Alrighty guys, so next up we've got the turret towers. Now as you guys can see here, this is kind of one of my designs. It's a little bit rough around the edges, you could say. The hatch frames don't exactly line up with each other, so it kind of doesn't make a symmetrical little thing, which my OCD is trying to kill me about. But other than that, this works great. It'll pretty much allow you to cover all areas around your base. Now with turret towers, you kind of want to set them up out of the 12 foundation range it has for the 100 turrets. I think it's 12 foundations, I may be mistaken there. But you kind of want to set it up so that the turrets in range don't contribute to your base turrets, because you want to try and load up your base with as many turrets as possible. But for this simple structure, all you really need is a 2x1. You got to chuck the generator in the back here. You can see we've got it stuck in. You then want to chuck an inclined electrical cable, and then that'll actually center inside the inside of this pillar, and you can put outlets inside the pillar. Now the reason you want to use pillars is because it'll actually protect your electrical outlet from being destroyed externally, because if you have an exposed electrical outlet, people can simply destroy it by running up to it with a composite bow and flame arrows, and it'll actually destroy and shut down all of your turrets. Now, as well as that, there is the chance of people obviously running along and chucking C4 to blow up your generator. Because this is only a 2x1, there's not really much you can do about the bottom, but you just want to load up as many turrets as possible with as many bullets as possible. As well as that, you could stick a couple of plant species X's around the base, which will also help in protecting the inside generator, because that'll actually slow them down enough in order for the turrets to shoot down whoever's trying to raid you, or the dinos that are trying to raid you. So guys, go about building the turret tower like this. Now in terms of height, you can build it as high as you want to. However, if you do have a behemoth gateway, you kind of want to build it high enough so that it can shoot over the behemoth gateway, in case anyone's trying to fly over, or you've got griefers trying to get at you. But other than that, you just kind of want to make sure you've got a turret set up on each corner, as well as in the center or in the sides, or you could throw in a mix of plant species X's as well. But you want to try and hit that max turret limit with a single turret tower, so that if you're a large scale tribe, you can go about building another turret tower a little bit further out from your base, so any would-be attackers get deterred a little bit. But if you're a small tribe or like a single player, you could easily lower this a little bit more, because as long as you've got it 10 or 8 high, you can actually shoot over Trike's protective barrier that they provide for the player, and that'll actually shoot down the player. So if you're a smaller player and a smaller tribe, make sure you've got it at least 2 tiers high, just so it can shoot over the trike and shoot down any players. Other than that, you don't really need to build it too high up other than that, because the rest is probably for alpha tribes. It's more suited for alpha tribes because they just pretty much have so much space that they just flood it with turret towers. Alright guys, so I mentioned that you kind of want to have one turret tower. Well, that's not always the case. You can kind of split it up and have, say, 2 turrets of 50 turrets on it. So for example, have 2 separate turret towers with 50 turrets on each tower. That'll actually allow you to cover more ground and delay the attackers from getting into your base, because you're going to have all these turrets harassing them. They're not going to get to your base as quickly as they would if you had a single turret tower. With 2 or even 3, you could easily have 3 turret towers and have 30 turrets on each tower. That'll easily allow you to split up and cover more ground with your turret towers, preventing any attackers from, well, not preventing, but delaying them. It could possibly prevent them, but majority of the time, if you're getting raided, those people are extremely well prepared and they're ready to take on as many turrets as you throw at them. So next up guys, we're going to take a look at crafting areas. Now, crafting areas are really pivotal to any sort of tribe. Now, if you're a single player or like a very small tribe of 2 to 3 people, you're not really going to utilize the crafting areas as much as larger tribes, because, for example, industrial forges take up a heck of a lot of space, and if you're a smaller tribe, you kind of want to stay hidden. You want that hidden element to help you survive on the arc. But if you're a larger tribe, crafting areas are a must-have in the area. So you can see here we've got industrial forges, we've got some vaults, we've got the fabricator, the smithy, the chemistry bench, the industrial grinder. This is just your basic kind of setup, and many people do crafting areas very differently. This is just the way I do mine. So for example, you can stand over here, you can access the industrial forge, the chem bench, the smithies, the fabricator, all at once. So you don't have to worry too much about over encumbering yourself. And then you've also got the vaults in order to store extra stuff. Now, these all really help because the vaults are obviously going to protect your more valuable stuff, like your blueprints, for example, or your high cost resources like black pearls, electronics, polymer, that sort of stuff. And, you know, if you're a big tribe, you don't really want to have much space for this inside of your main base. You kind of want your base to just be vaults and the smaller stuff. Now, with crafting areas, you want to make sure that you've got them well defended, because griefers will most likely come along and try to destroy your industrial forges, your industrial grinders, and everything else. And because these cost a lot to make, it's a real big pain in the ass just to have to rebuild them because you've got griefers coming in. So do make sure that you actually set up a couple of turret towers around them. Even if you set up 2 turret towers, 3 turret towers around them, you could even go for smaller, more compact turret towers, as long as they are defended from potential griefers from doing that to them. Because otherwise you can kiss your industrial forge goodbye, you can kiss your chem bench goodbye, and that could potentially mean a day's worth of grinding that you could use to go out, tame stuff, as well as raid other players. So make sure that you have your crafting areas well defended and that you have everything in the area up to your standard in terms of defense. Alrighty guys, so right now what you're seeing is our base. Now at the moment we're in a tribe of me, myself and I, so I'm the only current player in my tribe. And this base is honestly perfect for me. I've got 3 refining forges up here, I've got 2 vaults which easily store 700 different items in them, I've got a fabricator, an industrial grill, 2 refrigerators, a preserving bin, a chem bench, as well as mortar and pestles. Nope, no mortar and pestles around. But I also have more space up top as well, which could possibly allow me to expand upon whatever else I needed. Now, this base here is, in my opinion, perfect for your single player, dual player tribes, because it has everything that you need on a smaller scale. And as well as that, it allows you the ability to remain hidden. For example, this is only a 3x3 base. So this is a pretty small base when you look at it. Now, I obviously don't have turrets on this base as of yet, but with this base I could easily put giant metal hatch frames on each corner. That will allow me to put more turrets on, and I could easily set up turret towers over here as well as over there, which will allow me to defend the base better. Now, the only thing that I would say to improve upon with this base is the actual generator's location. Like I mentioned earlier with the other base that you guys saw, someone could easily run up to this wall, chuck a couple of C4 on, and blow through to get to my generator, shutting it down and shutting all my turrets down. If I were a smart thinking man, I would potentially put this generator at the back of my base, especially since the wall of this is impenetrable, so you can't actually get through this wall. And you know, if raiders did come up and put C4 on this side, or this side or even on the other side, they wouldn't actually manage to get through the generator because the generator is located in the back in the middle. These are other things that you guys have to kind of think about when you're doing PvP, because if you don't think smart, then people are going to abuse you and they're easily going to get into your base. So this is definitely a go-to base if you guys are keen on remaining small and just having everything at your fingertips. You know, it's got beds, chem bench, all your crafting needs are pretty much here. Obviously I'm not at the tech stage yet, but I could easily transition this base into tech once I manage to get there. You know, you could stick a small tech force field in the corners here, which will allow you to protect your base more, tech turrets, as well as everything else tech. The only thing you probably couldn't do is a tech replicator. But you can see here, I don't really have a crafting area. I personally probably wouldn't use a crafting area. I've got everything I need here. Only thing I don't have out of like that crafting area that you guys saw earlier was the industrial forge and the industrial grinder, which I'm really not going to capitalize on all that much as a single player and a dual player tribe. Alrighty guys, so hopefully you found this useful. This is mainly addressing for those wanting to look into getting into PvP, but are kind of a bit scared or on the fence about how to go about doing it, because I haven't really personally seen many guides out there on how to transition from PvE to PvP. Now, as well as that, this is also for those people on my server that just feel like they can't really get anywhere. They don't know what to do, they don't know how to build their base up, defenses, and all that sort of thing, and how to build their crafting areas and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys found this useful. Hopefully you guys don't rage at me too much and get angry at me. So yeah guys, thanks very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe down below for more. But other than that, I will catch you in the next one.